It's about the I got to say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State. Jalen wants Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game.
Ground ball, right side. Cabrera will cut it off. Galarraga covers. He's out. No, he's safe.
Phoenix has the ball, and a pinnacle ball throws it down.
DeBrincat gets it back to Goss. He's bearing across now. King.
They score! Raymond!
James Bond got to the throw, and it's caught by St. Gray for a first down.
This is BS Sports.
And away we go. So I just got to do one more little show prep thing because I did not prepare well. So before I really start talking here, hold on. All right. Then we should be able to just... Oh, I am stupid. There we go. Okay. Anyway, hi. Hi, how is everybody? Today is a very important day in this country. Today is an incredibly important day. Everybody talks about it. It's constantly in the news. Of course, today it is trade deadline day in the NFL and nothing else. Nothing else of importance is happening today. Nothing at all. I don't know what you're thinking of. Anyway, welcome to BS Sports. We got a great show here tonight. We got a lot to talk about. We got, obviously, it's crazy how much stuff happens in just this week. The World Series ended. So I'm going to briefly talk about that and the Dodgers and just how absolutely unstoppable this team is going to be for the next few, let's just say, years at the minimum. Obviously, headline of the show, Lions dominating the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau again. And then going ahead and making the team even better by trading for Zadarius Smith. We'll talk about that, of course. And just how good this team can be and what that next hurdle is going to be for the Lions. Because at every hurdle where we think, and myself included, maybe reality is going to have a say. Maybe this team is going to, reach a bit of a stumbling block. At every point where I think that's going to happen, it does not. So we're going to talk about that. Also, we're going to do a little hockey. We're going to spin a little hockey. I actually went to the Red Wings game this past weekend, Saturday night, my first trip to the LCA since it opened. I've never been to the LCA. I've been to Joe. I've been to Red Wings games. I've been to Pistons games. Let's relax. Everybody calm down. I've been to those games. I'd never been to the LCA. And right now, the Red Wings might not even be the best team playing in the LCA. So we're gonna leave it at that. And we'll get to it in a little bit because I got a lot of ranting and rambling that I got to do about this team. Because frankly, despite the win, we have to talk about it. We had to talk about it. And then obviously we got the pick 'em. And I'm going to talk a little bit about college football, but I got to be honest with you guys. I didn't watch a single minute of college football this weekend. I didn't watch any of Michigan State. I saw they were winning by 10, and then I look again and they're losing by 100. Michigan got destroyed by Oregon. Okay. And that's pretty much all I got to talk about. I'll briefly talk about Penn State and Ohio State, but I didn't watch the game, so I can only tell you, I'll only just yell about things. But let's just start with the NFL because it's what everybody has on their minds right now. So the Lions, once again, dominant. At this point, win number 6 in a row. I want to say I heard a stat. The last time they won 6 straight was like 30 years ago at this point. Like, undefeated on the road. And to win this game in this way, I mean, it's like, what kind of a game can't they win? It's like, you had week 1 where they won a game where it was pretty low scoring, and for the most part, and it went into overtime, right, where the Rams kind of came back a little bit. And you also had the other game on the road against Minnesota where it was a late game. You're kind of losing the lead. You were collapsing, fumbling the ball, scoop and score. You got to have a last-second drive and a game-winning kick. I got it done. Then you had the special teams victory over the Titans where the offense really wasn't able to move the ball down the field, but your special team's like, all right, we'll just set you up in great field position and we'll get some turnovers to help the offense be able to score. Then you had even oh my gosh, what was the game? The Cowboys game, where it was just firing on all cylinders, and you lose your best defensive player, and it doesn't even matter. You would have thought he was still playing the way the defense has been playing. But this game, to me, this was the statement, because it says a lot, not just about the team, but about the guy under center for this offense. When Jared Goff got here, and in the first couple of seasons, there was a number of things about Jared Goff that many, I don't know how else to describe them, haters would use against him. So let's just go down the list, all right? First, Jared Goff can't throw the deep ball. Well, turns out actually he can do that pretty effectively, because I want to say it was last year he led the league in 20-plus yard throws in the air. And we've seen this year him being able to hit Jameson Williams. I remember last year and then the year before, Jameson Williams is too fast for Jared Goff. No, does not appear to be the case. And I'm saying this, and we didn't even have Jameson Williams the last couple of games. But Jared Goff can't throw the deep ball. Let's throw that one out. All right. Throw it out with the Tooth Fairy and Leprechauns. All right. That one's gone. Jared Goff can definitely throw the deep ball, and he's pretty darn good at throwing the deep ball. Then it was Jared Goff can't win the big games. He can't win under pressure. He can't win when all the lights are on him, when it's national TV, when it's prime time. And no, actually, he did. He won on the road to win the division last year. And then he won 2 home playoff games, and very well could have won a third on the road if Josh Reynolds' hands weren't made of stone. But so there's that. We can just throw that one out, right? This is another thing. I mean, we'll see if he can, but we'll get to the last point, because then it was, he's playing in a dome. He can't play can't play in the elements, can't play in the cold weather, in the rain, and whatever, right? Because, he played at Cal in college, right? Then he played for the Rams. They play in an indoor stadium, or I believe for a time they were playing outside, but it was Los Angeles, so you really don't have to deal with the elements. Now he's with Detroit. Home environment is an indoor stadium. Much of the division rivals, or at least one of the other division rivals in Minnesota, they also play in a dome stadium, so you don't have to deal with the elements there. So he can't play in the way. Well, we got to throw that one out also, because he just did. I mean, do you want me to just tell you? Fine. 18 for 22, 145 yards, touchdown, sack just once, 109 quarterback rating. Was it, Joe Montana? No, it wasn't. But he didn't make any of the mistakes. He kept you in it. And frankly, that 4th down and goal where he threw that pass to Amon-Ra, that's at least as much on him being able to make that throw as it is on Amon-Ra to catch that football. So we could just throw that one out, right? And if you go back and you look at that game, it's as if the game plan did not alter based on the weather. They were throwing it at the same pretty much rate that they would have thrown it if this was in Ford Field. So we could just get rid of that. So at each and every step I get to, the hater's position of, anything that Jared Goff is incapable of doing is proven wrong, right? Can't throw the deep ball? Nope, he can. Can't win the big games? Nope, he can. Can't win in the weather? Nope, he can. What even is the next thing for him? Because as far as I'm concerned, it's not that he's just a good QB or that he's a game manager, quote unquote, whatever that even means. I've heard that title thrown around against guys like Tom Brady. And it's like, okay, if being a game manager means you're Tom Brady, then I want to be a game manager. Like the way, if it's a bad thing, then fine. I want that. I want that all the way. So what is this notion that he is just that is just wrong at this point. Like, he's not just good. He is elite. He's in the same category, and frankly should be talked about in the same category that guys like Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar Jackson are in. And you can call me a homer. You can call me a Lions truther, a Jared Goff, fanboy, all you want. Just look at the numbers. All this guy does is win. He's incredibly accurate, and he's probably the best quarterback in the National Football Conference. Like, he very well could win a second straight division title the way the team is going, and he very well could win a Super Bowl this year. And frankly, all he gets is disrespected as if, well, he's good, but he's not in the Allen, in the Mahomes, in the Jackson class. Tell me why he's not. He's got the team with the second best record in the NFL right now, and frankly could be undefeated if not for a bad game by the team as a whole against Tampa Bay. Look, and that's just Jared Goff. On the other end of it, you got the defense. Aaron Glenn, who was on the hot seat as late as last season, he has proven to be one of the best defensive coordinators in this league. The fact that he held the Packers to just 14 total points, one total touchdown, mind you, and it came in garbage time when the game was practically, for all intents and purposes, over. He held his team to that little amount of points when he didn't have Aiden Hutchinson. He didn't have Brian Branch because he got ejected for a nonsense call, which was certainly a penalty, but definitely not ejectionable. He didn't have Josh Paschal, who is the backup to the backup. He didn't have Marcus Davenport, who they signed this year. He didn't have John Kaminsky, who has been on the team for like 3 years. He didn't have Malcolm Rodriguez, who also had been filling in for the injured Derek Bond. Like, the injuries on the defense continue to stack up, and yet it doesn't matter. This secondary is coached at an elite level. They are shut down. I mean, pick your poison as far as which receiver you want to throw the ball to and who's covering them. Because it's either going to be Terran Arnold, who's really starting to come on his own, Carlton Davis, who is playing at a Pro Bowl level, Amik Robertson, who I think is highly underrated, or you got to deal with the two-headed monster safety of Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. Like, that basically just, and you can't run the ball on us, basically. Like, because you got DJ Reader and Ali McNeil and Levi Onwuzurike. So have fun, basically. And all of that is on top of the myriad of injuries. We're getting the most out of our guys. Aaron Glenn coming back to this team. The fact that this defense is this good at this stage in the year, playing all sorts of different teams. You know, Green Bay has a pretty decent, I think, a pretty decent passing game at times, right? When Jordan Love is clicking, he can click, right? When he can hit his guys. And Aaron Glenn is doing it largely with a lot of guys who normally don't spark. I mean, Jalen Reeves-Maybin, who is a special teams captain on this team, who is probably more known for the fake punt against the Chiefs last year, where he ran it for a first down. Like, Aaron Glenn is playing at an absolute elite level. And frankly, at this point, look, I've talked about it, and I talked about it going into this year. Look, the Lions have got to be Super Bowl favorites at this point. I mean, you look at how the Chiefs play, and there's no disrespect. The Chiefs are undefeated. They're obviously, they have the best record in football, right? They're the reigning champ. Patrick Mahomes could retire tomorrow, and he would be a Hall of Famer. But, like, if you put the Chiefs right now up against the Lions right now, I would be hard-pressed to believe that 9 times out of 10, or most times out of 10, that the Chiefs come away with a victory in that. I can't think of the scenarios where the Chiefs, so much would have to go wrong for the Lions on offense and on defense for it to go the Chiefs' way. And look, I know it's Mahomes. He's Michael Jordan. He is inevitable. He's Thanos. But I don't know how you can look at the Lions and the way they're playing right now at an elite level offensively with an MVP candidate in Jared Goff, with a defense that just got better because they went out and got Zadarius Smith. Like, I the more that I look at this and then I look ahead at the schedule, tell me where the losses are. Tell me where the write-in losses are. Because I remember last year, there was a few games maybe you say, okay, you know what, maybe we can write in a loss here. Okay, that's just, we're going to be on the road next week in Houston, and they are going to be without Will Anderson. I'm pretty sure they're still without Nico Collins. You know, CJ Stroud has not been playing very well. Talk about a sophomore slump. Then they got the Jags at home. The Colts on the road, 2 teams that are falling apart. The Jags are terrible. The Colts have Joe Flacco at quarterback, and the magic has not lasted from his Browns time. The Bears are horribly coached right now. We'll see where they're at by the time they get to Thanksgiving. Then you got the Packers again at home. Then you got the Bills at home, which is probably the toughest game down the stretch here. Then you got the Bears on the road, the Niners on the road, and I don't even know who's going to be on the Niners at that point because every single person on that team is made of paper mache. And then you got the Vikings at home to end the season. And, like, obviously, frankly, it would be astonishing if this team does not lose any of these games. But I look at this and it's like, well, in all of these games, the Lions are going to be favorites. Right? Short of like a collapse of immense proportions, pretty much all of these games you can write in, well, the Lions are going to be at least 3-point favorites or 2-point favorites at the bare minimum. I mean, you've already gotten through 2 on the road divisional matchups. You have just one more the rest of the year. And frankly, it was the one last year where you did end up losing that game on the road, which is exactly the same thing that happened. Like, you are set up right now where you could win the division before, the end of the before like mid-December. Like, just the way that it's going, if you beat the Bears on Thanksgiving and the Packers the week after, like, depending on what happened the few weeks before and how the rest of the division is going, we could have this division locked up before the 10th of December. like people's Christmas gifts could still be getting shipped before the Lion or people's Christmas gifts could have been just shipped by the time the Lions win the division. I lost my train of thought and my words because I'm just so excited talking about how good this team is. Like, and look, to end this little segment here, because I've been ranting a little bit for it, I want to make a comp to a team that I did not like, and I still don't like, and that was last year's University of Michigan team. Now, you could see, all right, I bleed green and white, all right? I hate Michigan, and I still think that team was a bunch of cheaters. But let me tell you something. That team was a team on a mission. It didn't matter what happened to them. Oh, your best offensive lineman just, had his leg fall off on national TV? Doesn't matter. Blake Corum just ran for a touchdown. Oh, you're going up against Nick Saban in Alabama and you're, down late in that game. Oh, doesn't matter. Blake Corum, touchdown, overtime, game winner. See ya. Oh, you're going up against an elite wide receiver room and a future first round pick at quarterback and probably the best Washington team to that point. Doesn't matter. Donovan Edwards just ran for 1,000 yards. Like, this feels like that same energy of a team that, the year prior, I think, frankly, got embarrassed in the NFC Championship game, right? Same thing happened to Michigan, right? The year prior to them winning the title, right? They get embarrassed to TCU in the playoffs. This just feels like a team that took it personally, to quote Michael Jordan. They are going to win the Super Bowl come hell or high water. Like, we'll see what ends up happening if the narrative can shift. Because that's the thing in the NFL, you can change your story week to week, and we'll see if they get their doors knocked off by Houston next Sunday. Maybe we do have to take a step back and say, look, maybe it was a little bit of a mirage, but I just don't see that happening. I just don't. And again, maybe I'm just a homer, maybe I'm just a big Lion slappy, and you can call me out for that. That's fine. I make no mistakes, and I make no qualms about the fact that I'm a Lions fan and I'm going to be biased. I'm just telling you how I see it. The way this team is playing, they're like a freight train with, kittens in front of it, basically. They're taking teams and embarrassing them on national television. When was the last Lions game that, I'm stressed about every game, but realistically, I guess you could say the Vikings game on the road, that was probably the closest game we played. Outside of the Vikings game, the Rams game, that was pretty close. Rams nearly came back, or they did come back. You had to win it in overtime. The Cardinals, you took control of that game early and you never looked back. The Seahawks took control of that game, never looked back. Cowboys knocked the doors off them. Titans knocked the doors off them. Packers knocked the doors off them. That's 5 out of your 7 wins where you basically just, strangleholded a team and then, maybe you took a quarter off, right? Like in the Cardinals game, we basically just took the second half off because we knew you're not beating us. You're not getting through our defense. It's just not going to happen. So, look, this team, I thought I loved last year's team, but this team looks like last year's team on steroids. So, as far as a Super Bowl is concerned, yeah, I'd be disappointed if we don't even make it at this stage. So, yeah, that's where we're at. It's always weird in between these segments here because normally there's sports and there's not tonight because the NBA takes the day off because of something that's happening. And then the Red Wings aren't playing until tomorrow. And I should mention, because I didn't put it on the show sheet, Michigan State basketball won their season opener, but nobody knew. You want to know why? Because they put the game on Big Ten Plus. Now, if you happen to have Big Ten Plus, I want you to go find the closest mirror, and then I want you to apply clown makeup on your face, and don't remove it until you cancel your subscription, okay? Just do that for me. Why are we putting college basketball games behind the Big Ten Plus paywall? I can understand the Peacock paywall. I don't like it, but at least you could say, well, all right, at least Peacock, like theoretically, you could get some TV shows, you can get some movies, you get it in some sense. Why we're putting Monmouth, Michigan State on Big Ten Plus, which I think is like, hold on, let me just look at how much is Big Ten Plus. Now we're going on a whole rant. How much is Big Ten Plus? Big Ten Plus monthly is $12.99, $13 a month, $120 a year if you get the annual. They're expecting you essentially to pay $10 a month to either watch Michigan State's season opener against Monmouth or Penn State volleyball. That, like, how can they make a profit? I genuinely, they have to reveal their numbers. I want them to be audited. Can somebody, we need an audit of the Big Ten Network, because there's no way that they're making money on this. There's just no way. It's impossible. There's no way that metric, that method of money, you know what? I could go on a rant forever on this. Let's move along. We got a whole show to get to. We got to get to the rest of the NFL. We got to talk some Red Wings hockey near the end here. Look, all right. Let's talk NFL, because this is what I really focused on. All right. I've talked about this for, at this point, like 2-3 weeks at this point, maybe even longer than that. How does Mike McCarthy have a job? Somebody give me an explanation. Does he have naked photos of Jerry Jones? Does he have Jerry Jones's son? Does he have a blood oath? What does Jera? How have you not fired this man? He has shown you that he is not only not the guy to win the big game, he can't even win the small to medium games at this point. Your quarterback just died. He's going to be on the IR. Your season's over. You're not going to keep this guy by the end of the year. There's no way. Look, we'll get to it in just a second. The Saints fired Dennis Allen. All right. Dennis Allen was far less successful than Mike McCarthy. But the scrutiny on Mike McCarthy seemed to be basically non-existent. All right. It's as if not only does he not think that Mike McCarthy is doing a terrible job, it's as if he thinks he's doing a good job. He thinks this is okay. That Mike McCarthy has some out. How do you have a job? How many losses? Let me just look at Dallas' schedule. All right. How many losses in a row at this point does it have to be until he's gone? All right. Your last loss was against the Steelers on the road. You haven't won a home game since last season, and you have the Eagles, who are really starting to heat it up this weekend at 4:30 on national television again. And then you got the Texans at home after that. If he loses Eagles, Texans, Commanders, if he loses those 3 games in a row, is he gone? Look, Armenian man, I feel you, all right? If it was up to me, I'd give him a lifetime contract because he's terrible and I love seeing the Cowboys lose. But I need to understand, what is even the mindset? What does he have to show you before you realize this guy stinks? that he gets the worst out of his players. He cannot game plan. He can't win the big games. He can't even win the small games. And frankly, if he didn't get bailed out by the refs against the Lions, he wouldn't have even had a home game in the end, or maybe he would have because he won the division last year. But he wouldn't have even had the chance, right? He wouldn't to get a higher seed. And that streak of losing at home would be even longer. Like, does anybody realistically think, and we'll get to it when we get to the picks, does anybody realistically think that they're going to beat the Eagles on Sunday? I mean, I don't like the Eagles more than the next guy. I think Nick Sirianni's a dummy as well. But for goodness sakes, like, there is nothing here for Mike McCarthy. At least with Dennis Allen. And I can't believe I'm defending Dennis Allen. But at least with Dennis Allen, you could say the roster construction was so bad that you put Bill Belichick in there and they wouldn't win many games. The roster construction for the Cowboys, they have stars. I make fun of Dak Prescott a lot, but he's not the worst quarterback in the history of the universe, right? Like, he's not like, you know, he's not Dan Orlovsky, okay? Like, he can win you games, right? CeeDee Lamb is a top 5 wide receiver in the league, probably, right? You know, Micah Parsons is one of the best defensive players in the league right now. Like, why? I can't. I like this comment. Isn't it kind of obvious, though? Jerry Jones is going full Mike Ilitch. He doesn't have time to rebuild again, hence the all-in comment. The Miggy Cabrera contract smells exactly the same as the Dak deal. I do agree mostly with that. The only difference I'll say is this, is that at least when you signed Miguel Cabrera, you were signing a surefire Hall of Famer and one of the best Detroit Tigers ever. Like, with Dak, it's like, who the heck is Dak Prescott? And why should I care if I'm a Dallas Cowboy? Like, what has Dak Prescott won for the Cowboys again? A couple of division titles? You know, great. And won the big game. Like, it's not like we're talking about a guy who, you know, will at some point get a hall named after him or a statue made for him, right? But I do agree with the analogy that Jerry Jones is desperate for another Super Bowl win. He can't deal with the reality that his team needs to rebuild, needs to just sell off everything, start all over, get the number 1 overall pick, get an elite quarterback. He can't do that. He's trying to, you know, short it, and it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. He did win those Tasty Soup commercials. That's correct. Those are some good commercials, actually. I didn't mind those commercials. Anyway. So I feel like this is gonna be like a weekly segment. Is why is Mike McCarthy still employed? Because after every week, it's like they lose a game, and I'm like, all right, this is gonna be the week, right? Like, I thought for sure after that Lions game he wasn't gonna have a job. I thought there's no way, right? Because that was also, you know, like coming off of a kind of an ugly win against Pittsburgh, right? Where you're like, okay, you know, you just won 2 in a row because you beat the Giants and the Steelers on the road, but you know, like, all your wins basically were pretty ugly, and every loss you've had was terrible as well. Like, I just don't understand it. I just don't get it. And again, this will be another nationally televised game, or at least mostly nationally televised. It'll be a 4:30 slot on CBS, so maybe some, depending on what market you might not get it. But yeah, it's practically speaking a national broadcast. It's the main crew of CBS, you know, Nance and Romo and the other people, whoever the reporter is. I don't remember any of their names until they're actually on the TV. Anyway. Oh, man. If he was only 70, Mike would be canned. Maybe. See, like, to me, it's like, even if you're like, okay, I'm in desperation mode, like, I need to just win. Like, why wouldn't you just fire him now? Because it's not like you're going to win this year, right? That we can just throw that in the garbage, right? Right now, you're 3-5. You're third in the NFC East. The Commanders are running away with this division. You don't have a quarterback for the next at least 4 weeks, right? However long the IR is. So you're not going to have him for Eagles, Texans, Commanders, and then Giants at home. Maybe you get 1 win out of that, like at the best, right? Assuming that it's not any worse than 4 weeks. Like, I don't know. Yeah, we have to move along. We can't keep on the Cowboys here. So we'll talk about the Saints. So the Saints lose to the Panthers. This is just, I mean, look, I talked about briefly there. Dennis Allen, he's been terrible. He was never good. There was never a point where the Saints were anywhere near being a serious team. But the problem is, for Dennis Allen, who I think is a pretty decent defensive-minded guy, he could be a good defensive coordinator. But this roster construction was so bad. I mean, like, you were basically bringing in Derek Carr to solve all your problems last year. And, like, this Saints team has not been relevant basically since Drew Brees retired. Frankly, the last time I really remember actually feeling confident about the Saints was maybe 2020. Maybe. But Drew Brees, man, he did a number for that franchise, because ever since he's been gone, like, their roster is just so bad. And I don't know how, if you're a New Orleans Saints fan, you don't have, I mean, the trade deadline's done at this point, so there's not like you're going to sell any pieces, but you don't really have the pieces to sell. I mean, Alvin Kamara? Like, maybe Chris Olave? I really don't know. Like, you have to keep somebody, right? You have to keep some talent on the team, but they are really stuck in mediocre land. It's tough. It's tough. It might not be a bad look. It might not be. I don't generally like to take in guys mid-season, especially if things are going right. Just, ride that wave, basically, is that's how I see it. It's just let it roll a little bit. So, yeah. But meanwhile, I got to continue on this. So, all right. I know that there's probably going to be some Bears fans, if they're in the chat or if they listen in after the fact, that might listen to this segment and just think of, oh, you're just a hater, you're a big Lions fan. I'm getting a little tired of these so-called generational talent quarterbacks that just can't seem to win games. Isn't that something? And on top of that, not only not winning games, but playing at a pedestrian level. All right. You can show me, but did you see him run around like a chicken with his head cut off and throw to a receiver who happened to get wide open? Great. Can you score a touchdown? Hold on. Let me tell you. Hold on. I got you. Here it is. That's Caleb Williams when you need him to score a touchdown. Hey, Caleb, we need a really big drive here just to keep us in the game. You there? Oh, that's right. He's not there. He's basically non-existent. And you know what else I don't want to hear about this? I don't want to hear, he doesn't have the weapons. Oh, he doesn't have the coach. Oh, he doesn't have the whatever you want to say. All off season, all I heard was, look out for the Bears. Look out maybe they're a sneaky team. Maybe they're going to make the playoffs. Maybe they could win the division. Look out. Caleb Williams is that guy. He's Timothy. He's gonna change the dynamic. All they needed was a quarterback. They brought in DeAndre Swift, who is a certifiable bum. But I'm just a stupid Lions fan. Why would I know about DeAndre Swift? Not like he played here, right? Or, look out. They brought in Keenan Allen, who's 100 years old. He's gonna bring it. He's gonna raise the stakes there. Or DJ Moore, a guy who's always been on a losing team, and Matt Eberflus, whose name sounds like a Dr. Seuss character. He's gonna who let Justin Fields just go out and die, basically. But he knows how to develop quarterbacks. Yeah, that's right. The organization that brought you Rex Grossman and Jay Cutler really knows how to develop a quarterback. Surely they won't mess up the so-called generational talent of Caleb Williams. No, they would never. Look, I'm just getting tired of it. I'm just tired. Like, Trevor Lawrence was a generational talent. Now it's Caleb Williams. I bet you next year it's going to be, I don't know, anybody. It's going to be Arch Manning. All these guys are generational talents, and they hadn't done nothing. You know what's funny about the generational talents? The guys taken after them always seem to be just like immediately better. Isn't that strange? Isn't that like kind of weird, right? Like I know Mac Jones is kind of fallen out of favor at this point, But isn't it kind of strange that, like, in the first year of Trevor Lawrence, this generational talent, can't miss talent, gonna easily, be future MVP, Hall of Fame. Isn't it kind of funny that the guy taken way after him immediately had a better year? Or in this case, Jaden Daniels immediately having a better year. Or I don't think Bryce Young was described this way, but the guy taken right after Bryce Young immediately has a much better year. Isn't that kind of strange? Isn't that just kind of weird? I don't know. They don't pay me. They don't pay me for this job. This isn't a job. I'm just saying. It seems like every time I get to hear about one of these generational talents, it's code word for just take this guy number 1 overall and don't even think about it. Don't even use your brain. Don't do that. Why would you want to do that? Don't use your brain. Mahomes better than I mean, Trubisky and Watson were not described as generational talents, but either way, you get my point. I'm just tired of these generational can't miss prospects because these guys are a dime a dozen at this point. This is now the third time, or at least the second time. The second time, maybe the third time. I'd have to go back and really look to see how some guys were described and all that. Where guys described as elite generational talents, can't miss prospects, where they come into the league and of course they're slow. When is one of these generational talents just going to immediately come into the league and be good? At what point are you just a talent? I just want to be honest, what's his name? Peyton Manning, I don't know why I forgot his name, but Peyton Manning, yes. Peyton Manning, he had a bad year, right? His first year, I think he threw like 100 interceptions, right? And great. And, on that point, Detroit fan, that whole quarterback class was terrible. So Trevor Lawrence is better than Zach Wilson, but every single one of those guys in that year, there's supposed to be a loaded quarterback class. And that whole quarterback class was awful. But that's exactly my point. It's like, I think for a lot of fan bases, and frankly, for a lot of teams that are just bad, they sell their fans on these false promises. And you can know bad organizations from this, where whenever things are going bad, right? The thing that will be touted is the young guys and letting people develop. And we got a nice core and we'll talk about that later on in the show when we talk about the Red Wings. Teams that say that are full of crap because everybody knows. Nobody cares about whether or not you're going to be good in 10 years or 5 years. What are you doing for me right now? Oh, great. You got Trevor Lawrence, who in 4 years will be competitive. One problem. He sucks. One problem. He's not even the right guy. He's not going to be the quarterback when you're competing, quote unquote, 4 years from now. So maybe we just need to end this whole generational talent thing. I mean, Trey Lance, bro, the fact that Cooper Rush is beating Trey Lance in quarterback battles. This guy was taken number 2 or number 3 overall. I don't remember. He was a top pick in his respective draft. And you would think he didn't even exist. You would have thought he got hit by a bus and is no longer in the league. It's incredible. It's really, really incredible. Anyway, I want to just briefly talk about the trade deadline. There wasn't actually a whole lot of stuff that really caught my attention. The couple of things that did, though, Marshawn Lattimore going to the Commanders. I think this is a great pickup. That defense needs some help. I don't see what the actual draft pick compensation was. I want to say it was a 3rd-round pick and a 4th-round pick, something like that. But Marshawn Lattimore, very good cornerback out of New Orleans. They obviously needed to sell off guys. They just fired their coach. They're in total rebuild mode, or at least they should be. I think it's a great pickup for Washington. They need a guy on defense to be a kind of captain, I think. And I think Marshawn Lattimore could certainly be that guy. Because, I mean, frankly, I don't want to be mean, and I also don't watch a whole lot of Commanders football, but who else on their defense is even, good? I genuinely don't know. But, yeah. The other one that I wanted to talk about, Mike Williams. Mike Williams, who was, I want to say, an acquisition this year, this offseason by the Jets. He gets traded basically because they brought in Devontae Adams. Like they bring in Devontae Adams after Mike Williams runs the wrong route or whatever happened. And now he's off to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a 5th-round pick. Look, if Seth were here, he'd be able to tell you the tall tales of Mike Williams and never being able to stay healthy and how the once great wide receiver room of the Los Angeles Chargers of San Diego is now basically Quentin Johnston and Ladd McConkey. I guess I would say it's a positive for Pittsburgh. I can't see it as a positive for New York because you just lose, a guy that you spent in the offseason to go get. It would be kind of funny to see Mike Williams end up with a better season than Devontae Adams, but I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, maybe by the record, right? Like Mike Williams might be able to play in a playoff game. And frankly, look, I mean, I can applaud the Steelers for at least saying, you know what? Let's go out. Let's get an offensive name. Is Mike Williams, is he Amon-Ra St. Brown? Is he Justin Jefferson? No. But he's still pretty good, right? He's still a good wide receiver. He's immediately plugged into that room. I would say he's immediately probably the best receiver in that room, right? I mean, who even else is on that? Like, I mean, you got maybe George Pickens. I don't ever like it's him and George Pickens, basically. And, if you got to give a little bit of slack for George Pickens so that he does not, like the offense doesn't have to run all the way through him, maybe it works out for Pittsburgh and they can, get something going. And they've been pretty decent offensively with Russell Wilson under center. So I don't know. Maybe Russell Wilson is back to his Seattle form and Sean Payton claims yet another quarterback. So good job, Sean. He's really good. He's a great coach, guys. Mike on the Steelers. Hey, you know what? I'm going to see him at the Mike convention. It's going to be good. I like Mike Williams. I do. Anyway. But that's basically it for the NFL this week. You know what? The rest of the show is not going to be very long, guys. I'm just going to let you know right now. Really not going to be a long show because for college football, I basically got one game I want to talk about. Because I didn't watch most of these games. I didn't watch any of these games, not most of them. Michigan State lost by 37. I don't care. Aiden Childs had another bad game. Yeah, it's rough. Michigan State needs to win 2 games down the stretch. They're off this week. Come out of the bye. Go to Illinois on the road. Illinois is sort of falling apart a little bit. They just lost to Minnesota unranked. I think they're out of the top 25 at this point. I didn't even look at the AP poll. I could pull that up. Although the playoff ranking is going to be coming out here pretty soon, I think. So, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I'll take a look at it at the end, but the playoff poll, the playoff ranking is going to be the only one that matters in the long run anyway. But yeah, and Michigan got killed to Oregon. It's really a tough time to be a fan of football, college football in the state of Michigan at this point, because you basically got like, I don't know, maybe like Western Michigan. I don't know if you're a Western Michigan fan, maybe you can get some enjoyment there. You're not getting any enjoyment from Michigan or Michigan State, I'll tell you that much. You'll get slightly more enjoyment from Michigan, but that's only because they beat Michigan State. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. But I have to talk about this game because it's about my mortal enemy. James Franklin. What exactly is it that you do here, sir? Like, how many times does this guy have to lose the big game to a big name, to Ohio State specifically? How many times does it have to happen until this guy is doing DoorDash deliveries? How the heck he continues to lose these games? They were up 10-7 after one, right? You have a lead, and then you proceed to not score a single touchdown the entire rest of the game. I mean, like Drew Aller, again, Drew Aller, who is the quarterback embodiment of James Franklin, where he will beat up on bad teams and then get exposed by a good team. And it's not as though Will Howard and Ohio State, just looking at the stats here, it's not as though Ohio State played this immaculate game. All right, they scored just 2 touchdowns the entire game, too. Or I guess not 2, but they scored just 2 touchdowns. And both of them were in the first half. But yet again, Ohio State beats Penn State, and James Franklin still has a job. How he does, I don't know. I would love to know what his buyout is, because that's probably the only reason that he is employed. Like I just don't get it. I don't. Somebody explain it. It's like Mike McCarthy. I just don't understand. Explain it to me like I'm 4. So I'll just briefly talk about the AP poll, because I don't think we're going to get the college football playoff ranking. I can check college playoff rankings. Oh, they have come out. Have they? Is this legit? I think this is it. I don't know if this is. Hold on. I don't know if this is actually legit. Okay, wait. Here we go. Yes. Why is the Oregon logo not loaded? Okay. Why is the Oregon and Texas logo not loaded? What the heck? Oh my. Oh my. It's just like one of those whatever. All right, so I guess we're just gonna ignore the AP poll because who cares about it? So first college football playoff rankings. Well, obviously this is the one that really matters. I don't know why this isn't just the ranking the entire year, but whatever. They start to do it in the middle of the year. I guess near the end of the year. But I guess let's start at 12, and then we'll kind of talk about some of the other stragglers at the end. Number 12, Boise State, the Broncos. You got Alabama at 11, Notre Dame at number 10, BYU at number 9, Indiana in at 8, Tennessee at 7, Penn State 6, the Texas Longhorns at 5, Miami at 4, Georgia 3, Ohio State in 2, and the Oregon Ducks sitting at 1. I didn't even know that happened. Oh, yeah, that's right. From the Packers. Preston Smith. That's right. So, I mean, frankly, looking at this, I don't really see anything that's too egregious. I mean, on the outside looking in, you have SMU, Texas A&M, LSU, Ole Miss, and those are the first 4 out. The rest of these teams, I mean, you're kind of far away. You got Colorado at number 20, which is kind of funny. Like that they gave them the spot there. But I mean, Notre Dame being in, look, that loss to Northern Illinois has not hurt them, at least not according to the college football playoff. And even Alabama, you got 2 losses and they're sitting in. But right now, as far as 2-loss teams, they're the only 2-loss team that's in right now. I mean, you have Texas A&M outside looking in, LSU, Ole Miss, both those teams with 2 losses. Kansas State further out. So I think for Alabama, I mean, that matchup this weekend is going to be LSU Alabama. That's going to be all the bigger, because if Alabama loses that game, I would be surprised if they're in the playoff. I think once you get to that 3rd loss, I think that's basically it. I mean, barring many teams losing games they're not supposed to. I just don't see it happening. But hey, Boise State, they got that the running back whose name escapes me, who's really, really good. So I don't know, maybe do we get to see a blue field in the playoff? Is that possible? I don't know if that's possible. I hope it's possible. But yeah, Notre Dame. I mean, I remember at the beginning of the year when they lost that game to Northern Illinois, we thought, okay, here we go, another Notre Dame year. But no, they managed to keep themselves in. But something tells me that as soon as they get into the playoff, if they get into the playoff, they're just gonna lose to whoever they play. But then obviously Ohio State being up at number 2 ahead of Georgia, like. I mean, to me, Ohio State and Georgia are very similar. They've done a lot of playing down to competition this year. Georgia's got a big game this week against, I believe, Ole Miss. Ole Miss, I think, in must-win territory. If they can win that game, they can keep themselves in the playoffs. On Georgia's end of it, if they want to get to that number 1 seed, well, for one, they're going to have to start rooting for Oregon to lose, and I just don't think that's going to happen. Oregon is a freight train of a team. And for Ohio State being ahead of them, I mean, I guess the thing that they probably have on everybody is that their loss is to the number 1 team, right? And that's their only loss. So even if you want to say, well, they barely beat Penn State, or they were struggling against, I don't know, pick a team that they've kind of played down to competition. Look, they got Purdue this week. They're gonna knock the doors off of Purdue. I don't think they're gonna move anywhere in the rankings. Short of Georgia getting a win, I think if Georgia wins, maybe you could see Ohio State dropping down, depending on how badly they perform against Purdue this weekend. And I don't, hey, the spoiler makers, they do like to sometimes do this to teams, but I don't know. Like, it just feels like Ryan Day is coaching for his life at this point, and he needed that win against Penn State to keep his life. So at this point now, he's just probably looking forward to that Michigan game to keep himself alive. And Michigan is not good this year, so I can't imagine he's going to lose that game this year. But either way, yeah, none of this is really all that surprising. Texas being under Miami, maybe, but again, Miami's undefeated. Like, there's only so much you can say. Indiana being undefeated, maybe you say you could put the undefeated teams over all the teams that have a loss. Look, you have to consider who they beaten and who they played. You can't just blindly say, well, they're undefeated, they got to be the best team. It's not how real life works. It's not how the game works. So, look, I'm sure these rankings will, switch up on us every so often here, or every week. I'm sure that there will be some movement, but as it stands, I really don't have a problem with these rankings. I really don't. So. And then a look ahead here for week 11. So Michigan State is off this week. So, and I also probably won't be watching any of the games anyway. Just because I may be able to catch some of the evening games. I'll be out of town during the day, but I can't believe we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday football, all college football. You got Friday night football, Big Ten matchup. All right, you guys ready for a Big Ten matchup? Little Iowa at UCLA, 9 p.m. Well, that doesn't. Then you got Purdue at Ohio State, big noon on Fox. Yeah, that's something. I guess you got Texas at home hosting Florida at noon on ABC. Let's see, is there any? I mean, Georgia at Ole Miss. I think that could be an interesting game. Again, we just talked about how the playoff implications with that game. I think that one could be one to look out for. Because Ole Miss is going to be playing to keep themselves alive, basically. So I'd say, Georgia might play down to competition in that case, but I don't know. Ole Miss has not won the big game yet. They feel like the SEC's version of Penn State. So yeah, I think Georgia's probably going to win the game, but that one certainly would be one to keep an eye on. You got Michigan at Indiana. Indiana trying to keep the undefeated streak going. How many games of undefeated football do they have to play before they really, they're up there in the playoff rankings? I mean, they're already in, but still. Moving along, you got Army at North Texas. No, that doesn't do anything for you. Let's see, you got Oregon hosting Maryland. LSU, Alabama. I think that's going to be probably the game of the week ultimately, because both these teams, the winner of either of these games will be in the playoff, at least in the playoff rankings at that point. Because right now, Alabama, we got the playoff rankings on ESPN now, so which is just fabulous. So Alabama's sitting at 11, so they're really just a little bit in, and they got those 2 losses. They're the only team with 2 losses in. So if they get that 3rd loss, they're going to be out, and LSU is going to jump them. They're going to probably get that spot because LSU has also got just 2 losses. So in my mind, I think if there's a game to watch, a game to be hyper fixated on for the day, it's going to be that LSU Alabama game, 7:30 on ABC and ESPN Plus. I'm not sponsored or anything. I just like to point that out for people, because if you aren't following college football, maybe maybe you don't know. Briefly before we wrap up college football, I'm going to be honest, and maybe it's just because Michigan and Michigan State both stink. Has this year of college football just been kind of weird? I don't know. I guess I can't really get into it this year. It was hard to get into it last year being a Michigan State fan, but yeah, I don't know. Something about it just feels a little I don't know. It just feels off to me. It doesn't feel like any one team or it doesn't feel like, I guess you got Oregon, who seems to be the best team in the country, but even with Oregon, I don't know. It's the fact that they're in the Big Ten is just weird to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. All right. So, we'll briefly mention the World Series. So, the Yankees avoid the sweep, but then they end up just losing. I've never seen a collapse like that in a World Series. You're up 5-0. They were up 5-0. I was like, okay, well, I guess they're probably going to extend this. Maybe this could be, a memorable series where they, take it to 6 or take it to 7. No. No, they don't. They don't do that. They don't. They lose in 5 games like men. like like a man. They lose in 5 games. Uh blowing the 5-0 deficit, ending up winning 7-6. They did lead 6-5 at one point in that game, and then they blew that lead as well. So, look, the Dodgers are, and they were on going into the year, they were far and away the best team in baseball. One thing that concerns me is not that the Dodgers are going to fall apart. That's not going to happen. If this was the version of the Dodgers we got this year, where you had no Clayton Kershaw, you had, plenty, all your starting pitchers basically dead, no Shohei Ohtani pitching. Next year, assuming they stay healthy, I mean, is this team just primed and ready for a repeat? When was the last repeat World Series championship? I can't even remember. Hold on. Let me pull this up. World Series winners. Let's see. World Series winners on ESPN. Last time we had back-to-back World Series champions, I want to say it was the Yankees. Yeah, it was the Yankees in 99 to 2000. Those Yankees actually three-peated from 98 to 2000. We're talking 2 decades ago, over 2 decades ago. Would be 2.5 decades ago next year was the last time that we saw repeat offenders, quote unquote. I mean, for one, that speaks to the level of parity in baseball. I guess it speaks well to the health of the league that multiple teams are winning, and it's very, very hard to be, a dynasty that just takes over the league. But it feels like the Los Angeles Dodgers of the 2020s are kind of like that Yankees dynasty of the 90s and 2000s. They're just built like an unstoppable force. And they're just going to go out and spend more money. They could go out and get the best pitcher in Japan. And they have that, given that they have Shohei Ohtani, who is the best player in baseball, bar none. Given that they have him, I don't know how they're not going to easily be able to recruit any good Japanese player. If you're a really good Japanese player, short of you wanting to be able to build your own spotlight and not be outshined by Shohei, but I don't even think they feel that way. I think they just I don't think these Japanese players have that kind of attitude that a lot of the American or Western players have, where they're more focused about wanting to make it their own. I think these Japanese players, they just want to win. And look, I don't know. Maybe that's not the case. I don't want to overgeneralize that. I'm just saying, this Dodgers team is built to win World Series plural. And I guess you could say they already won in 2020, but that one, nobody really cares about that one. This was the one. This was the legitimate one. So good for the Dodgers. Congratulations to the city of Los Angeles, I guess. They were the best team in baseball. They deserve to win it. Heck, they could go out and get Juan Soto. You want to talk about insult to injury? If they go out and they get Juan Soto from the Yankees, I would be, if I were a Yankee fan, I'd just retire. I would just retire from sports. I would go ahead and move along. I'd enter the transfer portal. I'd become a Dodger fan. I don't know. And anything other than the Dodgers or anything other than the Yankees fan. That's what I would do. So moving along. All right. So let me pull up something here. Let me just pull up something here. Really quick. Just want to pull this up. I'll just cut this out in editing. We'll cut this out in editing really quick. It's fine. All right. Really quick. Hold on. Just wanna just really quick. Why is it not letting me? Okay, there we go. Not letting me open it the right way. But anyway. Okay. All right. So, it's a little unusual because if you check your calendar, it is currently the month of November, and you're seeing a video we'll see if we end up clipping this out. Probably will. about the Detroit Red Wings. And it is not a positive one. So I want to start by just getting this out of the way. Yes, they won on Saturday against Buffalo. I was there. I watched the game. I was happy that they won. Both their goals were on the power play. When I say that this team is awful on 5-on-5, I mean they are one of the worst teams in the league, if not the worst team in 5-on-5. And frankly, if it was not for the multiple elite goaltending performances from both Cam Talbot and Alex Lyon, the record that this team stands at would be much, much worse. And what's even more upsetting about that is this team has played 11 games and is 5-5-1. And I'm telling you that if it weren't for those crazy goaltending performances, this team would be worse when they are currently 500 out of the wild card, out of the playoffs. Let me tell you something. Last year, when I came out against this team and said that Coach Lalonde and much of the roster did not make any sense, I was excoriated. I was public enemy number one for questioning our Lord and Savior, Steve Yzerman, and his roster construction and his coaching hire and his free agency signing. And now I look at the way this team performs, and it is exactly the fear that I have. Coach Lalonde is basically just coaching for his job at this point. Every win, he feels a little bit more secure in the fact that he is not going to get fired over the weekend. On the other end of it, the team has basically no style. I want anybody, please tell me what style of hockey would you describe this team as playing? Are they finesse team? Are they grind team? Are they are they close, like on a scale of like Carolina Hurricanes to Edmonton Oilers? Where exactly do they lie? Right? What do you think they end up at? And they don't really have any strength. I mean, if you want to say, okay, they have a good power play. Look, for one, I don't even know if I believe you. like I really don't. Yes, we've had a couple of nice. I mean, look, just this past weekend, we had 2 power play goals against Buffalo, and that was the difference. I can't fully believe in this power play because of Coach Lalonde and just the fact that it's never been elite. Nothing about this team has ever been elite under Coach Lalonde. So why he has a job, I just don't get. I don't know how he kept his job after the collapse of last year. And so it all comes down to one man, unfortunately. One Stevie Yzerman. Stevie Yzerman. Let me tell you something. All that I hear about Steve Yzerman, about the Red Wings, is how good their farm system is, how good the future is, right? How they got all these guys. They got all, they got your Johanssons. They got your Savages. They got your Kosas and your Danielsons and your Hoobadoos and your Beebity Bops. Where are all these elite guys when they get to the NHL level? Because, look, maybe Marco Kasper, maybe Albert Johansson, maybe they'll be fine players. I don't know. You don't know. I guarantee you, most of the people defending Steve Yzerman are not watching AHL games. And if they are, I implore you to please go outside. Please. I am trying to be friendly, but just do anything else other than watch minor league hockey. Like, read a book. Draw a picture of a hockey player. I don't know. Whatever you got to do to stop watching AHL, do that. All right? Moving along. Look, Kasper and Johansson, fine. I'm glad that they've got brought up. I thought both of those guys should have made the team to begin with. They only basically got brought up because of injuries and guys just not performing when they should have just been on the team to begin with. Look, this team is just old. I mean, if I just go up and down the list of guys that are under 25, it's pretty low. I mean, like Lucas Raymond, Moritz Seider, Simon Edvinsson, Marco Kasper. Is Joe Veleno under 25? I actually don't know. How old is Joe Veleno? He is 24. Okay. All right. Joe Veleno, Jonathan Berggren, who is awful. I'm so glad that we were keeping this guy in the AHL, Steve, for his 0 goals and 0 points to this point in the season. Or I'm sorry, his 1 point. I'm so sorry. He's got 1 more point than me. I was like, I'm pretty sure he's got a point. And Albert Johansson, again, another player, no points, and he's a negative guy on the ice. If you, take plus or minus to mean anything. And again, maybe you're saying, well, you're not looking at the advanced stats. Look, advanced stats are not, all right? The team is not performing. And the roster construction to this state of the team sucks. It just sucks. Who is the number 1 elite go-to goal scorer? There is none. If you want to say Dylan Larkin, look, we were saying this basically since Steve Yzerman got here. If Dylan Larkin is your number 1 goal scoring guy, is your number 1 forward, is the best forward on your team, you are not going to win a Stanley Cup. I love Dylan Larkin. He's a great player. He scored the 2 goals in the power play. I have nothing but admiration and love for my baby boy, Dylan Larkin, all right? He basically was the only reason, frankly, it seemed, that we even almost made the playoffs last year. But if he is your front runner, you are going to run into a wall. Like, there's just a point where, okay, we need Lucas Raymond to be that guy. And maybe he is. He leads the team in points right now. But he's only got the 1 goal on the year. All right? Maybe Marco Kasper can develop into that guy. The point is, the more and more time that we go through the myriad of draft picks of guys that we need to be that guy, the more it's starting to get to the point where it's like, what about this elite drafting has actually translated into elite players on the ice at the NHL level? Mo Seider is a great player. I love Mo Seider. Lucas Raymond, good player. Really love Lucas Raymond. I got nothing on Marco Kasper or Albert Johansson. Jonathan Berggren, you can throw in the garbage because this guy stinks. And I mean, the fact that he didn't win a job over, David Perron last year, who, granted, David Perron, decent enough player, but the fact that he wasn't winning a job, practically speaking, over some of these guys last year told me everything I needed to know. And the fact that he was on the team this year, I don't know why anybody would have thought anything differently. I mean, like, he's just not an NHL player. And neither is Joe Veleno, frankly. This is another thing. People can, laugh and, point out how bad some of these players are. It's like, well, why is Steve Yzerman keeping these guys on the roster? Why does Jeff Petrie get a spot on this team? Because I'll just say it. Like, if his name was Jeff Smith, he wouldn't be on the team. It's a hell of a coincidence that his dad works for the owner of the team. Granted, for the Tigers, it's a hell of a coincidence. What exactly does Austin Watson do for me? I'm pretty sure we picked this guy off the street. Tyler Mott? Who are these people? Justin Hall? Why did he even get brought in? You know what's crazy? If we just go through the points production, the guys, many of the guys that are at the very bottom are guys that Steve Yzerman either voluntarily just brought in, or guys that were drafted, or guys that he just hasn't gotten rid of to this point, and nobody really knows why. We have the all-star cast of Eric Gustafson and Ben Sherratt and Justin Hall and Jeff Petrie, all of which, by the way, in case you wanted to keep score, were brought in by none other than Steve Yzerman. And you know what's actually really funny? I was thinking about this. The whole point, or the whole thought process of Steve Yzerman bringing in and drafting certain guys is, we want responsible defensive players, guys who aren't going to, turn over the puck, but can still, they can play solid defense. They might not be elite goal scorers, but they play solid defense, and they're not, irresponsible players. They're not irresponsible puck. I gotta tell you, the amount of times I've seen players on our team turn the puck over or not play good defense, like you want to talk about bad defensive guys? Jeff Petrie, hello? Do you even know you're a defenseman, sir? Ben Sherratt. How many times do I got to see Ben Sherratt look up in the air like, oh, how did that? I don't, oh my gosh, I don't even know how that guy got past me. Or Justin Hall, who is allegedly a member of this team. He wasn't even playing all of last year, but yet for whatever reason, we're like, yeah, let's keep him around. Let's keep him around. It's like Derek Lalonde. What exactly do you do here? Like, you want to say, well, he brought in DeBrincat and he brought in Kane. Okay. I like Kane. I like DeBrincat. Listen, it's not 2019, guys. All right? Like, we're not talking about, and I frankly, I don't really want to be the 2019 Chicago Blackhawks. Like, this team is 5 years into Steve Yzerman's tenure and is just so painfully average that I really don't know where you go forward from here. Like, I was talking to my brother about this, and credit to him. He follows hockey. He's followed hockey for a very long time. He's a hockey nerd, if you will. He said, basically, good option for you might be to just sell at the deadline and start over and build around Casper, Sider, and Raymond, and just see what you can do. Bring in draft picks, bring in prospects, and just bring up the youth. Basically do what the Tigers did, where you sell off these aging contracts, these aging vets, and then you call up the kids. You call up Carter Mazer, you call up Nate Danielson. I don't know. Do whatever it is you got to do. Because the other thing too that grinds my gears, like, if I got to hear, well, we got to wait for these guys to develop. It's like, other teams aren't doing that. Why do we got to take so long? Like, all these, and you can say, oh, well, they're not doing it right. If they're not doing it right, I want to know what we're doing. Like, because right now, the way we're playing, I would be shocked if we could make the playoffs. Certainly not with this roster. We're going to need to do a similar thing to what the Tigers did. We're going to have to sell off guys like Tarasenko, like, Gustafsson, like some of these vets, trade them. Maybe Patrick Kane has to go as well, and just bring some youthful energy, bring some speed to this team, and just hope that maybe guys like Casper or Johansson or, the additions of Mazer or whoever, if they can, spark something in this team. Because the way that it's going, look, if they don't make the playoffs again this year, what exactly are we to do with Steve Yzerman as a general manager? Because as far as I'm concerned, is that if this team doesn't make the playoffs again, you are like tantamount to being fired at that point. Because if I got to hear we have to reset the rebuild, well then, Steve, you're not going to be the one to rebuild, because this is your fault. We're in this mess because of your doing. I don't want you anywhere near it at that point. Yeah, and look, Detroit fan man, the fact that the Yzer plan needs a reset tells me that there is no Yzer plan. That this was all just people's imaginations and machinations, as if Steve Yzerman was the most smartest man in the whole wide world and he could do no wrong, and he's just the most amazing general. I mean, did you see him make that overtime winning shot against the St. Louis Blues in 1996? Did you see that time where he scored a goal on one leg? Did you see that? No. Most of the people who talk about him that way probably didn't. But I know it's only been a month, and a lot can change in a month. Maybe they just got that win in November. Maybe, I look ahead at their schedule, they got Chicago on Wednesday. Okay, Chicago is not a very good team. It's going to be on the road. Right? I think it's on the road. It's going to be on the road, but not a good team, right? Maybe you get a win there. That's going to be 2 in a row. Then you got back-to-back against Toronto and the Rangers. Those are going to be tough. If you could split those, maybe you keep yourself alive. Because then you got a stretch here of Pittsburgh on the road, Anaheim on the road, the Kings on the road, and San Jose on the road. Those 4 teams are not exactly fire. Those 2 teams are not exactly powerhouses. So, I was semi-expecting this. I'm not going after you, Detroit fan man, but I'll just read this comment real quick. Should we give Yzerman any patience for never getting any luck in the draft lottery? Feels like we got the shaft every year there, haven't had a rookie star since. Now, I'll answer your first question quickly, but I will elaborate. No, we should not. Because after 5 years of drafting, I don't care if you had nothing but the 10th pick in the draft. If you are relying essentially on winning the lottery, getting the number 1 overall pick, and that being the difference maker. Like, sure, maybe you want to say, okay, if we would have gotten, what's his name? Jack Hughes a couple of years ago in the lottery, maybe we wouldn't be where we were. I don't know. Maybe Jack Hughes wouldn't even be on the team. Like, the way our development goes. Like, here's the thing. We drafted Nate Danielson at this point a couple of years ago, and he's just getting into the AHL. You know what's crazy? Is I got teams like the Flyers playing Michkov, who was drafted the same year. And I think he was taken before, granted. But it's like, how, like, you can't just say this is just a matter of, oh, we just didn't get the lottery pick. The guys that he has drafted, the reason we always seem to have the highly touted elite prospects, they are not on the team. That's just a fact. And whether or not they come out, like, even if, let's just imagine in our mind, even if Nate Danielson, Carter Mazur, Seb Kosa, name a Red, even if they're all like solid good players, what does that make us? Like a playoff team? Maybe? We're 5 years in. Like 5 years in, I should be, competing for the conference championship. I should be, in the most opportune, in the most amazing circumstance, I should be a perennial cup contender at this point. And I know hockey, it's different. It's different, and rebuilds are impossible. And apparently, hockey is the most craziest sport in the whole wide world, and rebuilds take 100 years even. I mean, hey, Ken Allen told me that rebuilds can take up to 10 years, and Steve Yzerman's testing that theory. Like, that's just how it is. But look, and then as far as whether or not we've had a rookie star since, I mean, we've had, Sider and Raymond pretty much as soon as they got to the NHL, they played pretty high-level hockey, or at least high-level hockey for rookies. So, look, we never had a Connor McDavid. That's true. Or, any of these number 1 overall picks that immediately are, elite players. Connor Bedard, another one. What's with Connors? But we've had guys in the minor leagues that every time, like, if I got to see another highlight of what's his name, Axel Sandin Pellikka getting another goal, it's like, great. Are we competing for 2035? Like, come on. Like, I guess I just don't see the point of some of these guys stewing in the AHL. Like, what is the point of Sebastian Cossa playing another season in the AHL when he has proven that he is a great goalie in the AHL? I don't care how good he plays for the Griffins. I care how good he plays for us. Like, God bless the many people out in Grand Rapids, Michigan, who love their Griffins, who support the Grand Rapids Griffins, who are big-time. God bless them, all right? I could not care. The Grand Rapids Griffins could lose every single game for time forever. I would not care in so much as that still means we get elite prospects from them. I just don't care. It's like the Toledo Mudhens. Like, great. If the Toledo Mudhens win the AAA, I don't care. I care about the Tigers. I care about the Red Wings. So if these guys are just sitting there and stewing, and I, instead of, getting to see Nate Danielson or Carter Mazur or any of these guys, and I instead have to see Justin Hall and Jeff Petrie and Joe Veleno and Jonathan Berggren and Albert or Tyler Mott and Eric Gustafson and Christian Fisher and Michael Rasmussen and all these guys who do basically nothing for me. Like, at what point do I just get to say, you know what, Steve, fix the roster or get out? Because I'm tired of not taking swings at big name players. I'm tired of not calling up prospects. I'm tired of keeping around coaches for no reason, only to fire them by the time everybody knows that they have not done a good enough job. It just, look, I could go on this rant forever. We're going to have to wrap it here, just so that we can move along to the end of the show. But look, the pressure is on, as far as I'm concerned. And Steve Yzerman, if he doesn't feel any sense of urgency at this point, then he can just leave. Because frankly, I'm not here to compete in 2036. I'm just not. So call me impatient. Do whatever you want. Good thing I'm near the end of the show here because I'm out of water. That could be problematic. All right. So, with all of that, we now can get to that point in the show where our ability to judge the future comes into play. Great take. Totally agree. Thank you, Detroit fan, man. Thank you. I try. All right. Anyway, it's that time of the show, everybody. You all know it. Here we go. It is the picks. Play the music. All right. So, look. Last week, 12-11, poor Seth came down to Buccaneers Chiefs, and he took the Buccaneers. And he probably hates Todd Bowles now. I think he's gonna. We need to make sure him and Todd Bowles never end up in the same room. But this week, week 10, a little smaller set of games here. But here we go. Thursday night football. Bengals at the Ravens. This should be a good one. Seth is taking the Birds in this one. Yeah, I'm also gonna take the Ravens. Look, the Bengals just look all sorts of out of sorts. I know they just won. I mean, they go out and they trade for Khalil Herbert. That tells me everything I need to know. I don't really like the Bengals defense. They beat up on bad teams, but I think they're going to get exposed by a good team in the Ravens. So yeah, give me Baltimore at home to get the win. And then we got what is quite possibly the most disgusting game we will ever see. We're sending this to Germany because they deserve it. Germany is the worst country in the history of humankind, so don't get it twisted. We got the Giants at the Panthers in Germany. Seth is taking the G-Man. I don't even, what do I do here? I guess I'll take the Giants. I mean, the Panthers are coming off a win, and the Giants didn't sell at all in the trade deadline. Panthers got rid of whatever the name of the receiver who they traded. I don't even remember. Wingo? Something, I don't even know what the guy's name is. I don't know. He probably wasn't very good. Give me the Giants. This is the worst game ever. I can't believe they're putting this on TV. Patriots at the Bears. Seth is taking the Bears. All right, look. I know I slandered Caleb Williams this past earlier in the show. He has to win this game, right? There's no way that he goes out and drops another dud. This is going to be the game where all the Caleb Williams fans come out and are like, see, I told you he was good when he's playing against one of the worst rosters in football against a rookie quarterback, a fellow rookie quarterback, to be fair. But, yeah, give me the Bears to win this game. The Patriots just are terrible. Yeah, move along. Bills at the Colts. Seth is taking the Bills here. Yeah, I got to agree again on this. This is not a very great set of matchups going into this week here. Yeah, give me the Bills. The Colts are not good. Unfortunately, the Joe Flacco magic has reached its end. We once thought that maybe he was elite, and I am a part of that. And yeah, he might not be elite, guys. He might actually be bad again. I don't know. Give me the Bills. Vikings at the Jaguars. Seth is taking the Vikings. I hate to take the Vikings again because it just feels like Sam Darnold is keeping his job for way too long. But look, the Jaguars are terrible. I mean, Doug Peterson, what do you do here? Exactly. Trevor Lawrence has been not good for much of this year. I don't necessarily think that this is going to be a blowout just because the Vikings have also kind of struggled somewhat recently. I mean, they did. Who did they play this past week? They did win Sunday Night Football against the Colts, but you know, I don't know. This just feels like a Vikings win to me. I think they just offensively they have too many weapons. The Jaguars are not going to be able to keep up. Give me the Vikings. Broncos at the Chiefs. Seth is taking the Chiefs. And yeah, I gotta agree. Again, I don't know if we're gonna disagree at all this week. At some point, there's gonna be a disparity, I would imagine. Yeah, I mean, Bo Nix, it can be fun, but most of the time it's not. Yeah, the Chiefs are just gonna suffocate this team. Sean Payton's a complete choke artist and a fake and a hate and just a hack. I can't stand Sean Payton. I think he's going to get coached all over. I don't think this is going to go. It's going to be an ugly game because the Chiefs offensively are really not good. But yeah, give me the Chiefs to get the win here. I don't see it going well for Denver. Falcons at the Saints. Seth is taking the Dirty Birds. I will also take the Dirty Birds. Yeah, is there gonna be anything where we disagree? I mean, like the Falcons, offensively, they have all the pieces. Defense, it's okay. It's an okay defense. The Saints, however, they sold off their best player, Marshawn Lattimore, or their best player on defense at least. Yeah, the Falcons are just the better team. There's no, they also just fired their head coach. I mean, maybe you say, interim head coach. Maybe they play around the new guy. I doubt it. Give me the Falcons. 49ers at the Buccaneers. Seth is taking the Buccaneers. This is where I will disagree. I'm gonna go with the 49ers. Coming off the bye, maybe Christian McCaffrey, he'll be back. I don't know. I've heard I would be shocked if he was, but Deebo Samuel, another week of healing from pneumonia, apparently. Coming off the bye, I would think that the 49ers are going to be prepared for this game. The Buccaneers, kind of a rough loss for them in overtime. They played the Chiefs well, but I don't know. Something about that offense, the lack of wide receiver weapons. At a certain point, you can't just throw the ball to K-Dot. I mean, maybe it works, but I don't know. That wide receiver room is just so beat up. I'm going to take the 49ers, get the win on the road. The Steelers at the Commies. Seth is taking the Steelers. I'm going to give the Commanders the win here. I'm a little surprised that he's taking the Steelers here. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the offense has not been great for the Commanders. Not in yards gained, but more in scoring. I think they really should have knocked the doors off the Giants, but that was also part of their defense. The Bears game, though, just a couple of weeks ago, they were not really scoring much of anything in the red zone. But I do think they can get the job done. I don't think that the offense for the Steelers... I think, if anything, this is a closer game. I do see the Commanders being able to pull out the clutch play over the Steelers. But I guess I could see this one going either way. Give me the home team. I'll ride with the Commies. Why not? Titans visiting the Chargers of Los Angeles of San Diego. Seth is taking his Chargers to get the win. I am going to agree. Titans are terrible. I was surprised they didn't do more at the trade deadline in selling off guys. They're very, very bad. They're not going to win against the Chargers, who coming off probably their best win of the season, knocking the Browns down to their level, or just beating the doors off them. Yeah, give me the Chargers to get this win. I just don't see it going well for the Titans. Jets at the Cardinals. Seth is taking the Cardinals. I'm going to agree with him on this one as well. Yeah, I mean, the Jets sell off Mike Williams, but not like he was really ever going to do much of anything for them. The Cardinals, though, they're leading that division. Oddly enough, I don't think many people, including myself, thought they were going to do this. I thought it was the 49ers to lose that division. I didn't think the Cardinals were going to be able to take that step. But Kyler Murray, I mean, he had a nice game last week. I think they're starting to turn it on a little bit. I think this could be a really good win for them to sort of elevate their shots here of getting into the playoffs as well as winning that division. So give me the Cardinals. Give me the Birds. Eagles at the Cowboys. Seth is taking the Eagles. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to take the Eagles solely for the reason that this game is in Dallas. And they have not won a home game since they got the refs to win them the game against the Lions. So basically, they really haven't won a real home game in like almost a year at this point. So yeah, give me the Birds. I didn't do that with all the Bird teams because I didn't want to. Now we got Sunday Night Football. Oh, Sunday Night. Lions at the Texans. Seth is taking the Lions. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard not to, right? Lions go out, bring in Zadarius Smith. Zavarius, what is it? It's Zadarius, right? Yeah, Zadarius Smith. Give me the Lions. CJ Stroud having a sophomore slump. I don't know if Will Anderson is going to be playing. So that's obviously concerning for the defense of the Texans. And Jameson Williams is going to be back. So I think he is going to be due for having a big game coming off the suspension, especially since the last game that he played, he did not have a good game. It was that Minnesota game, and he didn't have a good game. I think he is due to really have a big game here against the Texans. It's going to be indoors. It's gonna be right in his element. I think this is gonna be This is gonna be another good barometer for just how far separated the Lions are from the rest of the league. So give me Detroit over the Texans. Dolphins at the Rams on Monday Night Football. Seth is taking the Fins. I am taking the Rams. I do not believe in the dead body formerly known as Tua Tagovailoa. Look, I just don't like. I don't know how it's happening, but the Dolphins are just, even with Tua back, it just feels like they've quit. So the Rams feel like a team on the rise. The Dolphins feel like a team just careening down into nothingness. So maybe the Dolphins are going to be desperate, but in LA, I just think the Rams are going to get the win here. Give me LA to win. All right, rounding it out here. Bengals at the Ravens. We're both taking the Ravens. Giants at the Panthers. We're both taking the Giants. Patriots at the Bears. We are both taking the Bears. Bills Colts. We are both taking the Bills. Vikings Jaguars. We are both taking the Vikings. Broncos Chiefs. We are both taking the Chiefs. Falcons Saints. We are both taking the Falcons. 49ers Buccaneers. Seth is taking the Buccaneers. I am taking the 49ers. Steelers Commanders. Seth is taking the Steelers. I am taking the Commanders. Titans Chargers. We're both taking the Chargers. Jets Cardinals. We're both taking the Cardinals. Eagles Cowboys. We are both taking the Eagles. Lions Texans. We are both taking the Lions. And Dolphins Rams. Seth is taking the Dolphins. I am taking the Rams. And those are your Week 10 NFL picks. And that's the show. Thank you for playing along, Galloping Lake, by the way. I didn't want to mention anything because you were just sort of playing along with the picks. Thank you for playing along. Thank you to everyone for listening in, hanging out in the chat, hearing me ramble about all things Big Ten Plus and how Mike McCarthy still has a job and Steve Yzerman and the Red Wings, all that fun stuff. So, look, show notes. So, obviously, there's no Michigan State game this weekend. They're on their second bye, which I didn't even know that was a thing, but apparently there is. There's a second bye. Lions will be Sunday night, Sunday Night Football. I want to say the start time for that is 8:15, so we'll probably be live at around 8:05. So keep an eye out for that. That's basically your look ahead. Then next week we'll be back with the regular show on Tuesday. With all of that being said, I do appreciate everybody. Oh, Alabama LSU. I won't be live for that game, Galloping Lake. I'm sorry. I did not mean to. I clicked the wrong thing. I won't be live for that game, but I'll probably be watching that game. So, I don't have that much of a rooting interest, so I won't be live for that game. But that's probably going to be the college football game of the week, for sure. But won't be live for that game. But either way, that's what we got going ahead. So hopefully I'll see y'all at the Lions-Texans game. Should be a good one. Hoping for another Lions victory, although I don't want to get too greedy. I mean, how many games in a row are we going to win at this point? I don't know. So, yeah. Keep your eye out for that. And then I should be, theoretically, I don't actually know. It depends on some of the start times of these next couple of MSU games. I know I said I wanted to get to more MSU games, but my weekends have gotten busier, so I wasn't able to get those Saturday games in. So I do apologize. I mean, hey, I'm not like you're missing much. So anyway, all that being said, thank you all for coming out. If you have not already, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, share the show. Look, we're trying to it's trying to be a movement. All right. This is a movement that we're doing here in BS Sports. Come on. We're doing something. We're doing something that nobody else has ever done before. No young man in his mid-20s has hosted a podcast, talk show, and no one has ever done this. I'm the first one, believe it or not. So with that, have a great night, everybody. And I will see you all for Sunday Night Football, Lions-Texans on Sunday. See ya. Goodbye. Have a good night.